check out the uh, website if you get a chance. Today's topic, I think, is quite relevant. It is about mental health and the stigma around it. Our speaker is Riha. You might have all received the intro. She's a practicing psychologist and counselor with expertise in some of the very relevant topics. I think of the modern age. So yeah, without taking any more time, over to you, Riha. You can start.
Hi everyone. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, Riha, you are.
Yeah. So before I start with the concept of mental health, it is important that we do understand that mental health is not just about the stigmas or the illness we talk about. It is much more uh, to what we actually think of, and it is not just the presence or absence of a mental disorder which we talk about. So today we'll be talking about the stigma which is attached to it, and how it is a very generic thing which we consider to be, it's okay to talk about somebody, calling somebody names and say, but it is actually not. And how it affects everyone's or people who are attached or related to such kind of illness, their mental state. So before I begin with, it's important I make you understand that when we talk about health, health is not just about mental health. It's about physical health, and it is also about social and the other aspects which we generally forget about. If you go by the WHO definition of health, it says that it is incomplete. Just wait. WHO, it's actually the ability of one's own to cope up with the stress, along with bouncing back when there are certain kind of stretches is getting along in our life, or like when we talk about situation like pandemic like coronavirus, which we never thought will come to any one of us, but it is actually about fighting back to it, having that kind of emotional and mental balance where we can work upon and work through this. Am I audible?
Yes, Riya, we can hear you. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So when we talk about mental health, it is not just all about it is restricted to this definition. It is more than about that. It is about taking care of our well-being. It is about connecting with people, taking care of things which we generally don't talk about. So talking about the significance of mental health, it is people who generally have a good mental health have a sense of contentment. They're satisfied, they live happily. It doesn't mean that they don't get negative thoughts or they don't get sad, but they tend to bounce back better than people which do not have a good mental health. I'm not going to explain everything here, so you can check out the links we'll be sending you later on. So we'll be just talking about the another concept where we when we talk about mental health is the mental illness. So the stigmas is actually related to the mental illness and not health. We generally interrelate and generally interchangeably use these two concepts, but they are interrelated, but they are not same. So when we talk about mental illness, we are talking about the disorder. We are talking about the mental situation. We are talking about the situation where there is a presence of any mental disorder which hampers our feelings, which hampers our thought process, and ultimately our behavior. We behave in a situation, we behave in a manner which are not accepted by the social norms, which are not accepted in a particular society or workplace or home, where we need to behave and act in a certain kind of manner. So, if I talk about it in a very short time, so it's a negative effect on the way an individual is feeling, thinking, and ultimately behaving into it. Whereas when we talk about mental health could be positive and negative both. Positive when what you are feeling, what you are behaving, and it's aligned together, and it's much more productive and helping you out to grow, rather than it is deteriorating your overall health. So when we talk about illness, it is a negative impact. It is affecting, it is hampering our overall health, not just mental health, but the relationship which we have built over the period of time in life with our kids, with our colleagues, which are with our family members. So this is a negative thing when we talk about mental illness. So it's a negative impact over our life, rather than when we talk about mental health, which could be positive and negative both. If we take care of our mental health, it will result and it will give us positive result. Whereas if we talk about we are not coping up with a certain kind of stressors in our life, it will lead to the negative impact and give us I guess we don't have any question. Do we?
We have some questions. So Rama is asking.
How to overcome the stigma of fear factor come to mind if one constantly come across the increasing population getting affected with COVID? Should one refrain from hearing the social media? Yes, we'll be talking about that, Rama. We'll be talking about how we need to work upon our, mindset and controlling over things so that we don't get affected by the media. Okay. Shall I proceed there?
Yeah, I think there is another one which is pretty close to that.
Yeah.
Binda is asking.
Yeah, how we can plan to fight stigma of corona positive patient. Okay, we will talk about it when we talking about the coping mechanism. So reasons when we talk about mental illness, continuing with the topic again. So there are causes for mental illness. It just does not come with just bad habits or being sad. There are causes. There are majorly three causes. Genetics, coming from when you have somebody affected in your family or relative. So there are chances of you having that of getting that kind of illness or disorder, but it is not sure that if your father or your mother was having depression, or I'll say schizophrenia, so you will definitely, or the chances are more. There is a predisposition, again, depending upon your lifestyle and every other things that will have. And another reason is biological. If we talk about that, is the how our brain works, the neurotransmitters, or the problem in or the brain injury. It could be during the time of birth. It could be during any kind of accident that could have happened, or that happened in life, will have may lead to certain kind of mental disorder, majorly schizophrenia and depression, because of the post-traumatic and the environmental situation and life experiences. So if you have seen social media lately, there are not very positive things, or news we have been hearing about people who are committing, or I should say who have died by suicide or have depression. It is because when we talk about these things, we have stigma attached to it, and which we'll be talking about in our next segment. So, talking about the stats, if we talk about in India, particularly, one out of 20 people are suffering from depression. We do have lack of facility. There are other reasons also for it, and 10% of out of the whole population have mental illness problem. It is not just about depression, but other illness, and also nearly the population which we generally talk about does not want to talk about their mental illness or mental issues, because there are stigmas attached to it. So if we say that there are so many stigmas attached to our mental illness. How we can work upon through this, and why we actually don't work upon it, that is actually the first concern. I'm going through the chat box. There is a question, throw some light on the aspect of how students can. Yeah, we'll be talking about that, Rama. So the common barriers why people don't seek for mental health help is first, of course, is the lack of awareness or the insight. What are the signs? What are the red flags where we need to go for a professional help? There's a lack of support system. There are people who perhaps have a little knowledge or wanted to work through it through friends or through their family, but they don't have support system. There are limited sources. If you talk about the GDP, it's just 0.6%, which is being given. No, we don't. We 80% of our mental health insurance is not covered in the total insurance of thing. There is a fear of indicacy. Like a lot of people think that we might be not consider very strong, and so all of these things are generally related to the stigmas which are attached to it. Talking about the stigmas.
So, Ria, there is a question from Sushmita on the chat box.
Yeah, okay. Let me go through it. If the stigma acts as an environmental trigger that worsen their mental health, then how to ensure that people don't attach labels to people because of personal biases? So yeah, we'll be talking about that biases now only. It was just the glimpse of the starting that what actually is mental health and illness, and how when we talk about the environmental triggers, the mental health and the illness, we need to how we cannot work upon it. These Let's talk about the stigmas which are generally attached to it. So we say that people who are mentally ill are crazy. It's majorly it's in your head. You are just depressed or you are just sad. So these kind of things, these kind of stigmas, which we as a individual, if we see, have worked through. If before this field, if I talk about, we also were not in school or in colleges. We were not having that much of awareness that we used to tag them, we used to label them and call them crazy or just depressed people, or we call it like you will get over this thing. So these are certain example we generally say this. Mental health is not real. We say that you are weak-minded. You will just snap out of it, and you're overly sensitive. You are crazy, and certain things which we generally intentionally or unintentionally don't realize it can hurt people and wound them in a way that they don't want to seek help. Shall I proceed further?
Can I ask a question, or should I type in the chat?
Yeah, Jeet, you can ask.
Yeah, what's the symptoms? Like, what are the symptoms where a person is facing something, some problem, mental issue, depression, or you can say some anxiety or panic attack? Like, there's a different, like, we have depression, we have anxiety attacks, we have panic attacks, and then we have a chronic depression. Depression. What are the difference between all of these terms, and how a common man or a layman can make a difference out of these things? Like somebody's having anxiety or a panic attack, or somebody is just sad, or he's in depression. So share some thoughts over how to differentiate between different type of depressions.
Yeah, Jeet, I'll definitely be sharing those with you, because it is important that when we say that we are depressed and when we are sad, there's a difference. We generally use the word depressed in a very common and in a very formal, like informal manner. That okay, let's talk like, okay, if I say that I'm depressed. Depressed is actually not a very informal word to be used. We are in a situation of depressed when we are actually diagnosed, or when we are clinically diagnosed with depression. So we even if we are sad or more than just sad for over a period of time, we consider these words as part of us because we don't understand the importance of all these things. So I have written a certain thing, if you can see on the screen, that we call some people as crazy, but what we actually need to see them is like they are going through a treatment. We generally say that he's having bipolar, or he's OCD, but actually he is not OCD. We don't call people who are having flu or common cold as he's flu or he's common cold. We say that he's having fever or he's having diabetes. We don't say he's diabetes. So we need to be very, very, careful with the words which we generally use, and we need to work upon the stigmas. And of course, the things you're talking about, how we can work upon, is the warning signs you're talking about, which we'll be talking about in this seminar as well. So, talking about how we can work upon mental health is that we need to be very careful when we say words like, I'm depressed or I am sad. If you are sad, you need to, say it out. And when you're depressed, there's a different thing to it. Let me go back a slide or two where I can show what I.
Hi Rhea, I have a question over here. So you said depression and sadness. Can you differentiate both of these? Like what is depression and what is sadness?
What is depression and what is sadness?
Yeah, like what's the exact difference between these two words?
Okay. So when we say depressed, it is not something, as a layman, we have an idea of what depression is. It is a clinical term, and there is a process of a treatment which we go through. Before that, it is very restricted to talk, or restricted to say somebody being actually very in a state of depression.
Ria, I think there are some more questions in the chat box.
Yeah, Jeet have written panic attacks and others. I think more than stigma, people are more willing to ask about, what are the signs where we actually can work upon things.
Yeah, I think some of the questions are before Jeet are around that, in terms of like what are strategies to kind of build some resilience around this. And the other question I think is around.
So I'll be including that in part. If you want, I can share it now. Otherwise, we can do that as we begin with our segment.
Sure. If you want to pick that up later, then there's another question in terms of is it? I think Kenneth is asking whether it is something which is time bound and can just cure itself, or if I'm getting that question correct, Kenneth. So basically, whether things like depression can cure themselves given time, or does it require intervention?
Yes, depression, when you talk about, if you are clinically diagnosed, it is important to go through the treatment process, go to the medical help, the professional mental health care you are already going through, because clinical depression cannot be diagnosed, cannot be treated on its own unless we know what actually is the process. And it requires a lot of steps when we go through a case like depression or bipolar, because it is not something like flu, you take a medicine, or it is altogether a therapy. Some people take medication, some people required just therapy, like what we call it a talk therapy, where you need to talk and to the counselor or the psychologist you have. So there is a process.
I think there's a follow-up from him. He's asking whether it could be cyclical, in the sense that you feel that you're fine and then it comes back again.
Yes, there are chances of relapsing as well. If the chances of you, depending again upon the cause, if there is a genetic cause for it, these things are not, if you talk about, they are not curable, they are treatable. So if I talk in layman's language, there are chances of getting it relapsing if you don't follow through the process, if you don't work upon the mechanism the coping mechanism or the life skills which are really required for it. Because there is not one reason, as I mentioned, of illness. It could be genetic, it could be the lifestyle or the series of bad habit over the period of time, which lead to all these things.
Right. I think that is.
Okay, there is a question that a depressed person has to visit just a counselor or a psychiatrist. Okay, so when we say depressed person, if you feel very sad, or let's talk about like the warning sign, if I say very sad over a period of time and you are not able to work through your daily day-to-day functioning, it is important to visit for evaluation purpose. It's not definitely that you need to just go to a counselor first. You can go to your physician, you go to your doctor, general doctor, where you can talk about your symptoms, and if they feel that it is more than that requirement is there, they will of course consult you to a counselor or a psychologist.
So if I may ask, so what are the symptoms? So that so for example, if we get some physical health issue, we know that, for example, for a cold, we know that we have a running nose, a cough, we are sneezing multiple times, and we are having a fever or something like that. So then we know that, okay, it's time to go to a doctor, an expert. So how do we find out that we are just like sad, we are not like, we don't require a counselor, an expert, or do we require it or not? So how do we find out?
Okay,
Any steps for that?
Okay, Abhishek, yeah, we are talking about like Jeet said that, what are the warning signs where we get to know, where we actually realize that it is not just normal sadness, and where we really need to work upon seeking a mental health. There are certain warning signs to it. We are talking about, we'll be talking about that in the segment you are asking. Just give me a minute. There is a power cut, so I'm working upon that. Just give me a minute.
Fine. Ria, in the meantime, maybe we can pick up some more questions if you are having
Yeah.
issues with the screen sharing.
Yeah, there is a problem with the screen sharing, so
Fair enough.
that's why
I think we have a lot of questions, so this might be fine. So I think Anju, Kenneth, I'm coming to your question. Anju is asking a very specific question on whether speech therapy helps in people with bipolar disorder and speech problems.
Okay, so when you talk about speech therapy, it depends upon the symptoms. When you talk about bipolar, if you have symptoms, you require speech therapy when there is specific symptom for speech, not when you have a problem with in terms of your mental health of bipolar. It again depends upon the symptoms you have. Every disorder have its own set of symptoms. Yes, there are certain warning or red flags which I'll be sharing. We have, but for a particular, in case if we are talking about that, there is no particular speech therapy need to be required if you just have a basic, or you call it a clinical diagnosed bipolar.
Okay, Anju, does that answer your question? Okay.
Is she there?
Yeah, she said yes.